Hello! Back today with some more mid-level FaB play. Today we will be playing against Lexi Livewire. Unfortunately, they have chosen who gets to go first. In this situation, we would like them to go first. This is an aggro mirror. Similarly, they are having us go first. I do want to point out that this was filmed before I realized that Warmonger's diplomacy is nuts. So you will not see it in this game. And I wish you would, because it's a great card. We have a decent opening hand. Here we are just trying to punish the Lexi if she chooses to activate Voltaire as opposed to blocking. So we are not going to try to get tricksy with it. We're just going to send attacks, see where we can get damage. We will attempt to arsenal the Snatch. So after we run in Renegade, Rising Resentment, we will spend our last floating resource to pick up an attack with a Phoenix Flame. And depending on how our opponent blocks, we will either attack with the Snatch or arsenal it. The ideal situation is that Lexi keeps 2 cards in her hand, pitches 1 to load Voltaire, and then we get to send a Snatch that is unblocked. We pick up the Phoenix Flame, attack with the Phoenix Flame. We're expecting Lexi not to block this, to just take 1 damage and activate Voltaire, but she does block, which is interesting. So here we are just going to send Snatch. If we get Hornet Sting as part of the the block, that's great. Instead, we just get 2 over. We draw a card, we get an Arsenal turn 1, and send 4 damage, which is great. This hand is looking pretty good, unless the Lexi is going to send something like Remorseless, maybe an Endless Arrow that we would consider blocking, Bolt and Shot. But as it is, they do send sort of Bolt and Shot. Here, choosing not to block. If they want to reload, that's fine. We might take a little more damage, but as it is, we have a good hand for cracking back. We'll see they still have Lexi activation, which they use to give us a Frostbite. They do play the Winter's Bite, so if I'm looking at this now, what am I choosing to pitch? We will likely want to keep Salt the Wound for Kodachis. We can also pitch Salt the Wound, send Ravenous Rabble, Ronin Renegade, Soulbead Strike to try to trigger Mask. That is what we're looking to do here. We do know that we have to pay through this Frostbite. So if I was going to make this play now, I am probably pitching... If we assume that Rabble is going to hit for 4, I'm probably pitching Soulbead Strike and attacking with Ronin Renegade, pitching Salt the Wound, attacking with Kodachi, attacking with Ravenous Rabble, and then either arsenaling Lava Burst, or if the Ravenous Rabble hits and we draw a starter, attack with Lava Burst, and then arsenal whatever we've drawn. We'll see if Past Me makes the same decision. Remember, we would, if we were making this decision now, we would pitch Soulbead Strike. Excellent. Here we have a second Voltaire activation. Sending an Endless Arrow. This is an interesting decision. We could block here with Lava Burst and Flamescale Furnace, but ultimately Endless Arrow, especially since Lexi lost Bullseye Bracers, is not as scary. That said, I'm going to get hit by the same Endless Arrow maybe 5 times this game, so it's entirely possible that I should have blocked it here. And I want to point out, I thought a lot about this game. I will go on to lose it, spoiler alert. I thought a lot about this turn and what I'm doing here by sending the Kodachi first. This is objectively wrong in about 90% of situations. So we'll let this turn play out, and then we'll come back and look at it again based on what's going to happen, and I'll walk through what I should have done. So here, remember, this is incorrect. We're sending Kodachi first. We will follow up with Ronin Renegade. The idea is that they don't block the Ronin, we rabble for 4, get a draw effect, and then Lava Burst. But they do block the Ronin. So now we still send Rabble. Rabble is 4 attack. Without the ability to trigger Mask here, we will Arsenal the Lava Burst and set up for a 5-card hand. Or we just send it because we want to push damage while we can. I don't agree with this decision either, but that is neither here nor there. So let's back up. Let's back up to here. So remember, with the Frostbite, we have a total of 4 attacks that we can make this turn. Ronin Renegade, a Kodachi, this Ravenous Rabble, and Lava Burst. How we sequenced it in this game was to do Kodachi first, then Ronin, then Rabble, then Lava Burst, which is wrong. And it's wrong because if Lexi is going to block, we want her to have to block the first link or the third link. We don't want her to block, and that is because the first link of a 4-link chain, if it's blocked, we still have 3 more links, and Lexi will have to block a second time to prevent the mask trigger. Or, on the third link, this Ravenous Rabble, or Soul Bead Strike, or Mounting Anger, or whatever 4-power attack we're seeking to trigger mask with, is going to get a card from hand and equipment, or 2 cards from hand, or Lexi doesn't block it and we draw. But as a breakpoint, what we did wrong here is we sent 1 here. We sent something that Lexi could profitably block on the second link, which means that we could not threaten mask. If Lexi is fine to give up Chilling Ice Vein, we want her to do it on link 1 or link 3. We don't want to let her do it on link 2 because then we don't trigger mask momentum. And I'm repeating this a lot because it's a mistake that I made here that is going to snowball and lose us the game later. And I just want to really lock in for myself going into future games. Don't start with the Kodachi unless I have a very compelling reason to start with the Kodachi. So let's say we did Ronin, they block. Kodachi on 2, Ravenous on 3. Maybe they would have blocked Kodachi with Hornet Sting, but say they don't. Now the Rabble is 4, so they would have to block with a card from hand. Lava Burst is 5, so they'd have to block with a card from hand. And if they don't, then they're taking more damage. They would be at 26 here, but we would have an arsenal. We'd have an E-Strike and arsenal with Snapdragons available. Oh, we do have Diplomacy here. Oh, and I don't know how I lost this game. Maybe I didn't. Let's find out. Well, Lexi is sending some damage. Falcon Wing is not something we'll ever block. Unless we're going to die. This is a Lexi 3 of a kind turn. Bolt and Shot comes in for 5. This is just damage. If Lexi did not have a card in Arsenal, then we would consider blocking with E-Strike and Flamescale Furnace. But as it is, we aren't looking to do that. This is another weird situation, and you can see me hesitate and really think about this, is that this Endless Arrow is coming in for 4. We can block this. We could do Flamescale Furnace and Mounting Anger, attack with E-Strike, Bottoming Art of War for 7. We could snap it. We could go 5 draw cards, snap it, play Warmongers. There's a lot we could do. Alternatively, we can do nothing. because Lexi has used both of her Voltaire activations, which means that even with Go Again, she doesn't have a way to get a card in the arsenal. She can pitch this card in hand to quiver and try to flip an arrow, but she can do that anyway. This isn't a super compelling reason to block Endless Arrow, but you can see this is the next time that this same Endless that I could have blocked will hit me. Here I am inclined, if I'm making this decision now, I'm inclined not to block. My upcoming turn is going to be a little weird because I have Diplomacy and I would like to play it. Another interesting thing about this situation is if we don't block, Lexi snaps it, does a quiver trick, arsenals. Here with Lexi having, we know she has a Rain Razors. Having a face-down card here and knowing the power of Warmonger's Diplomacy, Warmonger's Diplomacy says that if this is a non-attack action, Lexi's turn ends. If this is an arrow, unless it has natural Go Again, if it's a Falcon Wing or a Bolton Shot, and we know that Lexi has Rain Razors in hand, then she would have to use the Snapdragons on it. If it does not have a way to get Go Again through text on the card, she has to use Snapdragon because she cannot activate her ability. So that all being the case, and knowing that I would like to play this Art of War, I would like to set up an Art of War. What I'm inclined to do on this turn, gosh, this is a hard turn even thinking about it now. I want to play this Diplomacy. What I might be inclined to do here, I might even just play the Art of War, pitch Mounting Anger, banish Enlightened Strike, see what I draw. I want to play this. I don't want to have to pitch it. So I could play the Art of War, pitch Diplomacy, banish Enlightened Strike, and put a turn together. But as it is, I do want to play this Diplomacy. Could also E-Strike for 7, snap it, play Diplomacy, Arsenal, Art of War. If I was making this decision now, that's probably what I would do. It's a wonky turn and I'm not pushing much damage, but it does let me utilize the cards in my hand and play Diplomacy. So that's what I would say now. And here I pitch Diplomacy. I go for a big Art of War play, which isn't necessarily wrong. It's just that Lexi has so much life that I'm unlikely. She has so much life, she has all of her equipment, 5 cards in hand. It's unlikely that I'm going to be able to really punch through here and threaten that life total. So if I was doing this over, E-Strike for 7, snap it, play Warmongers, Arsenal, Art of War, and hope that that slows Lexi down enough that I can get through 19 damage with a 5-card Art of War hand. Here, with a Mounting Anger, a Brand with Cinderclaw, and a Soulbead Strike, leading with Mounting Anger is fine. We will send 5, followed by 1, followed by 3. This is not a great Art of War hand. And if I was doing this over, I might be inclined to send Brand first, then Kodachi, then Mounting Anger. If Lexi blocks the Kodachi with Hornet's Sting, I just reset my chain, and I can now send Kodachi, Phoenix Flame, Mounting Anger, and that gets the draw trigger. But leading with Mounting is fine. We're trying to bait Lexi into blocking this so that I can follow up with the rest of my turn. She does not block. Here we're sending Brand. This is turning on the first half of Shuko. Overall, I strongly disagree with the way that I've played this turn. So I'm kind of just an audience member with you, seeing how poorly this goes. Remember, I lose this game. Here we can Kodachi, get our Phoenix Flame back for free, but Kodachi doesn't trigger Mask Momentum. What we might do instead is FaB to pick up the Phoenix Flame. Send a Soul Bead Strike for 5, excuse me, is a fine play, but still, we get blocks. We get cards from hand and then our turn ends. What this does let us do, it goes through. If this was to get blocked, we could pick up and arsenal a Phoenix Flame. As it is, we get a red brand, which is a nice pull. Here, all we will need to do for the rest of this turn is attack with Kodachi, pick up a Phoenix Flame, attack with Phoenix Flame, arsenal brand. Our Lexi opponent is on 5 cards. We're going to see what their turn looks like. We know they have a Rainraiser, but we don't know what's in their arsenal. So we'll see what the Lexi's turn looks like. It's an Endless Arrow. So right off the bat, if we had sent Enlightened Strike for 7, put our Lexi in 19, then play Warmongers, this Endless Arrow will come out and be played from Arsenal and require a Snapdragon to use just from the start because Lexi can't activate her ability. She loses her second Arsenal slot. So just from the word go, this Endless Arrow would need Snapdragons. So imagine we're seeing Endless Arrow sent, and Lexi no longer has Snapdragons available. Endless Arrow comes for 6, which we knew would happen. Here, we are happy to block with Furnace and Mask Momentum. Lexi still has all of her armor. We can see from this double strike that we are going to be able to trigger Shuko, so we will block with Mask Momentum and Enlightened Strike, and have a pretty spicy turn on the back end. I disagree with blocking with Shuko here. We'll see if that's what I choose to do. Do it. Click Mask Momentum. You made a mistake. Lexi just has too much armor. Here they Endless. We'll take 6, which is too bad. If we Warmongers, our Lexi doesn't have snaps. But our Lexi's at 19, so maybe it did work out. As it is, we're going to get cards from our Lexi here. They can block this double strike with Hornet Sting, which interrupts our chain, but then we get to send 3/1/4 with a Phoenix Flame on the back end. I'm just enraptured by this high-level FaB play, knowing how many mistakes we've made. Brand with Cinderclaw gets blocked, so here we are looking to just send Double Strike. We'll pick up our Phoenix Flame and send that, and just see how Lexi blocks. Lexi blocks with a full tunic, which is interesting. It also interrupts our turn here, which puts us in an interesting position of how do we use this brand with Cinderclaw. We can either attack with it for 4, potentially putting the Lexi to 3 and leaving ourselves vulnerable to Codex, or we can arsenal it, set up for a 5-card hand if we are able to, or at least more cards in hand, block with our equipment, and be a little more resilient to Codex. Here we draw an Art of War, which is late, not where we want to see a non-block. Sikkim Shot is just 5 with Go again. It's a big deal. We don't necessarily need to block here, but we will so that we aren't just dead to Rain Razors. That said, we are going to only block what is necessary to not be dead to Rain Razors so that we can block this Endless Arrow. Next he plays Codex, or takes it back, but we know it's a Codex. We also know that there's a Remorseless in their arsenal. So knowing that there is a Remorseless in their arsenal, we're going to need to keep this Lava Vein Loyalty and a brand in order to not be dead. So what we can do is block with Flame Scale, go to 1, then block the Remorseless, keep an Art of War and a brand. Not an incredible line, especially because we're frail. Our Kodachis are off, and this Blaze Headlong only hits for 3. Our Lexi gets back Remorseless. The attack with Endless Arrow, there isn't a great way to utilize the Art of War on this turn, or on our next turn. Here, we're in a very bad position. I would say block with the Furnace, go to 1, block Remorseless with Lava Vein and Yellow Brand, send 6, picking up a Phoenix Flame and attacking with that, just to make the Lexi do something, but we've already lost this game. And a big part of it is that sequence I was talking about at the start, where we missed a potential Mask of Momentum trigger, or just getting blocks from our Lexi opponent, which would have put a card in our arsenal, and having that extra card drawn over the course of this game potentially puts that Lexi 3 life down, so that the Blaze Headlong we could have sent for 4 last turn would have been lethal to get a card out of her hand. We also find ourselves in a position where we are going to lose this game with Snapdragon still available, which means somewhere we missed an opportunity to use it. Potentially that E-Strike for 7, Snap, Warmonger's Diplomacy. Now, as we saw, that wouldn't have been a huge turn. It wasn't like they were sitting on a 3 of a kind or an Icequake or something. But we do just see that Lexi pushed an additional 5 damage with their Snapdragon Scalers, which they wouldn't have had available. That's a hard call to make. They would have potentially been at 8 more life, but we would have had an Art of War. It's hard to know how this game would have played out. But we do know that missing Mask of Momentum triggers is bad, and we don't want to do that. So that 1-3-4-5 sequencing compared to a 3-1-4-5 sequencing, objectively wrong. And that's really the takeaway from this game, is sequencing matters, sequence better. Unless I have a reason to lead with Kodachi, don't. Make the hard block, harder block 1 or 3, not 2. And here we just scoop it up. So, hard game. We could have played it a lot better. That sequencing mistake was big. Not playing the Warmongers, that's iffy. I'll have to test it a lot more to get more of a sense of when I should be looking to Warmongers, but not a great game. But it's alright. If I'm learning, I'm not losing.